Welcome to Secretly Sporty. I am your host, Sebastian Langdell, and I'm joined here with my co-creator, Austin Rackless. Hey, Austin.
Hey, Sebastian. How's it going?
You know, it's funny. I woke up this morning knowing I was going to be interviewing today's guest, the legendary poet, Eileen Myles.
The rock star poet.
The rock star poet, if you will. And I had this faint memory of a lyric from a Hooray for the Riff Raff song.
It's a fantastic band name.
Hooray for the Riff Raff?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the sun was just coming up. I popped that album on and went for a run around my neighborhood. And sure enough, in the middle of this song, Colossus of Rose, the singer sings, Eileen, I must be living twice.
So you knew the interview was going to go well.
You know, it just felt like the elements were coming together. I Must Be Living Twice is the name of Eileen Myles' new and selected poems volume. They are also the author of several books of prose and poetry, including Chelsea Girls, a novel, Inferno, a poet's novel, the most recent collection of poems being A Working Life. But we talk about a lot of things.
Yeah, talked a lot about exercise, everything from yoga videos to running to PT, which we both are in the trenches with. I was doing my T's, Y's, and I's last night, getting my shoulder back in shape.
We were talking about sometimes those exercises are so repetitive. It's not maybe what you want to be doing, but there is a time and place for what you need to be doing, what your body needs you to be doing.
And it's so gratifying, but also annoying that it works. It's like, oh, when you do the things they tell you to do, you feel better.
You were right.
People aren't lying about that,
We talked about Eileen's kind of split life between, I would say, Marfa, Texas on one hand and New York City on the other hand. But Eileen also pointed out to me the road.
I thought it was fascinating to find out that Marfa is not particularly hot. I just thought all of Texas was hot.
For anyone who doesn't know, Marfa is relatively small town in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of West Texas, that has become an artist enclave, like an artist haven.
Have you ever been?
I have. I've been a couple times. You know, Marfa was one of the first things that drew me to Texas because way back 20 plus years ago when I was an undergrad, I saw a newspaper story about Prada Marfa, which is one artist's installation of what looks like a normal Prada store, but just plunked into the middle of arid desert with nothing stretching for miles around on either side.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've never been to Marfa. I've been to other parts of Texas, but Marfa's on the list of locations I would like to visit.
My father-in-law is turning 70. We are going to go out to Marfa and throw him a star party.
Maybe I should crash your father-in-law's star party for my first trip to Marfa.
There you go.
Yeah, and, connecting back to Prada Marfa, Eileen revealed that they wrote a poem for Versace.
Yes, that shows the versatility of Eileen's work.
Absolutely. Shall we get into it?
Let's get into it. Here is Eileen Myles. Eileen, it's great to see you. Thanks for being here. We like to start by asking about your most recent workout. So what did you do and how'd it go?
I did PT.
Wow.
The reason it's funny is because I had an injury. I was at an art center doing a residency and there was construction and I fell and I fractured my elbow.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And so for now, I have to do PT like 3 times a day. So I set my alarm. So I try to do it almost before I'm conscious because otherwise I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
A lot of timed holding my paw to my shoulder for 30 seconds, 3 times, and so on. It's a very elaborate set of things that I have to do that take about a half hour.
Yeah.
I'm in this altered place at this moment in time, exercise-wise.
I could see that.
I can't do yoga, which I normally do. And now when I go to the gym, it's really funny. I can only lift weights on one side. So I'm going to have this very interesting kind of lopsided Popeye body.
Yeah. I go to PT as well for running injuries and other injuries. And I mean, it's its own thing, right?
Once I agree to it, I kind of like it because it creates this very strange stillness. You're in your home, you're doing this repetitive motion, you just have to kind of zen out behind it in a way. So it winds up being a form of meditation, I think. That's at its best, it's that.
Yeah. When did yoga come into your life?
Pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
It introduces you to your body. Most of all, it introduces you to breath. There's all this breathing. I feel like I've tried to write about it and I've not really succeeded, but it's sort of like there's certain positions and twists where you're just getting this gust of air that I swear I've never had before in my life.
Yeah.
It's like the way my friend, when we were talking about rain, I remember years ago, taking a road trip from Seattle to Portland. It was pouring rain. And I remember him saying, I love this kind of rain.
Mm,
And it was spoken as somebody who knew many kinds of rain. And I felt
yeah.
like yoga introduces you to a multitude of different kinds of breaths.
Right.
That's incredibly exciting because in a way, breath is it's the best thing there is. It's like it's what's holding us here.
Oh, I love that, to expand your vocabulary of breath and the different types of breath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where it comes out of, what part of your body holds it and then releases it. It's kind of cool.
I had a yoga teacher who encouraged us to keep our mouth shut the whole time and only breathe through the
Oh,
nose.
that's Ashtanga. Yeah.
Yeah. When you started yoga during the pandemic, were you doing it from videos?
Yeah. I started what's her name that everybody was
Adriene? Yoga with Adriene?
yeah, started with Adrienne,
Me
yeah.
too.
It's so funny, she was in town, she came to town too, people were like, "Oh my god, Adrienne's here." And then by the time the pandemic was over, there was a woman in town who was very good, and I would take classes with her, and then when I began to travel, she said, "My teacher does videos." Leslie Fightmaster is her name, and she's done a ton of videos, but the thing that's intense about Leslie is she's dead, and so I just do yoga with this dead woman.
When did she die?
Probably in the last 10 years.
Okay. In your daily practice, are you usually watching a video, or are you at the point now where you just kind of like to choose your own adventure?
I can do it without, but I just somehow I like the companionship of the video. And actually, well, I say the video, but what I've done is I've made an audio file of the video because that's just more convenient for traveling.
Are you in Marfa right now, or are
I
you in New
am.
York?
Yeah, I'm in Marfa.
And you spend your time between those two places, right? New York City and Marfa.
Yeah, though I travel a lot too, so it's like a three-way split, it seems.
What is the fitness scene like around Marfa?
Seems like the gym is very underused. Like I've never been there when there's more than 3 of us, and it's a good sized gym. But people are running in town. There's lots of different, there's always a new yoga class. And then there's, people who have been here forever. Though the person who's been here longest, I started doing yoga with her and I got injured because she was kind of competitive or she made you feel that way. I felt like that was the vibe in the class. And so I, who had really no experience, would try and do these things. And there was no protecting your back cautionary things. And I
Mm.
needed that. So I messed myself up doing yoga with her. So I always get a little bit of side eye from her because she knows that I do yoga with other people, but not with her.
Yeah. What was it in the beginning that kind of drew you to Marfa that made you think, oh, this would be a cool place to get a house and spend some time?
Pure accident. Like I was trying to buy a house on the East Coast and then I came here for a residency and I was here for a month and it was almost as I landed, I thought this would be incredible, because it's the landscape that's so interesting to me, and it's not my landscape, and that's really important and exciting as a writer.
Mm.
It's funny because people talk about the wind here the way they talk about the weather on the East Coast or traffic in Los Angeles. Oh, how is it out there? I love the wind. I love the wind, and it's that's just such a piece of this landscape.
Hmm.
I was single at the time I came here and I've been in various relationships and I've been in relationships where we had houses, but I wanted to have a house that was beyond relationship. It was the right time and the right thought. And then it was really the right price. I found my house was very inexpensive. And so it was just easy to make a decision and keep making that decision.
You mentioned that you travel quite a bit. Is there a part of the world that resonates with you especially well that you could see yourself kind of settling in or spending more time in?
South America. I just went to Brazil for the first time recently and it blew me away. And I felt like when I was in Argentina, after all these years of going to Europe, I thought our own hemisphere is so interesting. And the conversation, in a way, is so much more vital than the one you have with Europeans. Europe has some idea about American culture, and it's fun to be the American in that context. But what it means to be in South America as a North American is really interesting. And we just have a lot to say to each other, and it's very, very different because we're all colonizers as Americans. We certainly are as North Americans. South Americans are colonized people, and then there's a whole question of indigeneity that doesn't exist in Europe. But I'm 76 years old, so it's just like, how much life is there to go live someplace else? You know what I mean? It's sort of like, sure, I'd love to live in Mexico for 5 or 10 years, but I don't know if I have those 5 or 10 years. It's like I'm kind of in a mystery zone right now. I feel entirely full of life, but on the other hand, my friends do die. So it's just like it's very real. There's only one way out of here, you know.
I hear that. Do you like to work out before you write or write first thing in the morning? How do you usually manage the schedule on that?
Well, like today, right first, and it went well. And I think it really has to do with my capacity at a given time because I think workout first, then right is always it. I mean, if I had my druthers run first, right, that's the classic. But I haven't been able to do that for like 5 years. So we'll see. Especially with 3 dogs. It's like with 3 dogs, you could never get to work out. It's like you keep putting their body before yours
Yeah.
because their bodies are so urgent. It fucks me up. And so I thought, just go right to, just get right there. I will say I did do PT right.
So what was your history with running like?
I started like in my late 20s, and I have such a specific memory. I walked down to East River Park with a beer and I think a cigarette. And I walked to the track and then I ran like a mile and a half and then I walked back.
Okay.
There was some movie that had a runner who smoked. They would always go for a run and they would stop and they would have a cigarette. And I loved that. I loved that. I was very attached to that conflicted way of being because that's where I was. Maybe the movie was Body Heat.
Oh, yeah.
And I kind of kept that up in a way with my then girlfriend. We both sort of liked running and drinking beer and smoking cigarettes, And then particularly when I stopped drinking and taking drugs, it just became part of like how I got high every day. Definitely ran for decades, 40 years, like never did a marathon and found that if I went as far as 6 miles, my knees started to feel bad.
Mm.
So I've been a 2 or 3 miler, just like but constant, like, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. That feeling becomes a thing that you have to feel every day. It's kind of weird. And it's hard to let go of because other kinds of exercise produce other kinds of feelings.
Mm.
I think 5 years ago, I've been a runner for a long time, like a moderate runner, and I would just sprain my ankle repeatedly for decades. 5 years ago, I had a tiny sprain that somehow was the big one, and then PT, and then it was by the time it started to get better, it moved to the other side. So, I've mostly not been running, though I was at a residency this spring at Headlands, and everybody was running there, and I really wanted to run. So I started doing this thing that I read about called Jeffing, which is kind of amazing. Like this guy, Jeff Galloway. Do you know this stuff?
No.
Jeff Galloway is a British runner, and when he trains people or even starts people running, he gets them to do this thing, which is that you walk for 30 seconds and you run for 30 seconds. And for the whole duration of the run, you do that.
Wow.
And so I did that for half an hour and I could run. It was kind of like a very odd rhythm that is kind of cool. Kind of maybe a born again runner, which I'm very excited about.
That's super exciting. Yeah, I've gone through periods of my life where just due to injury, I thought that I've kind of closed the door on running and moved on
Right.
to a new chapter and whatnot. And then it's come back into my life and it's been nice. Are you a night walk person?
With the dogs?
Yeah.
I mean, my older dog is not like a huge walker. She's more like a rambler. Like I have to bring her to spaces where she can kind of move around. Like the courthouse is a big lawn. So I'll drive there at night and then plop her on the lawn. And then we just hang out for about 20 minutes and she just, pokes around.
Mm.
I have 2 younger dogs and they're kind of reactive and they haven't encountered javelinas yet.
Okay.
So I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So I try to get them out, like at the edge of the dark, but no later.
We're big campers and we were at a place called Colorado Bend State Park, I think. It just so happened that this pack of javelinas had taken over the night that we were there.
Wow.
And they were so destructive and you heard them in the middle of the night just storming through the campground and like bumping into your tent, and they are something to be reckoned with.
And they even have a particular smell.
Yeah.
Sort of a little chocolatey, a little garbage. It's sort of very recognizable.
It's a beautiful word though.
Oh, yeah.
Javelina, javelina on the high desert of my mind. Caught you running through the
You have such a distinct poetic line, and I'm wondering how you would describe the evolution of your line to someone who isn't super well versed in poetry.
I mean, there's one answer which is really easy, which is this notebook. I mean, this is my latest beloved notebook. Like I found these in a bookstore in Mexico City. The brand is Ideal,
Mm.
but the size is perfect, and I carry it in my back pocket.
It's soft cover. It's about the size of a moleskin.
Yeah, and basically a 2 or 3 word, like you could only write pretty thin lines in a notebook like that. And so I'm very affected by what I'm writing on, like if I'm writing on legal paper, which I also like, the lines get wide, but mostly this is the kind of thing I do. And there's a poet, James Schuyler, who was really important to me when I first started writing. And he wrote long, skinny poems. And so I just think it sort of designates speed.
Mm.
So it's almost like filmic in a way. It moves vertically in this way that you're just forced to plunge forward, I think.
Use one of those small notebooks per poem, or do you kind of find ones that speak to each other and put them in the same notebook?
It changes all the time. It's like, so lately it seems like it's just open. Like I feel like there's one long poem I'm writing for the length of this notebook, and that's kind of funny to realize. When there's an event in my life, like, I don't know, a loss or a love or something that really like changes the game, then oddly the shorter poems happen.
The bigger the event, the shorter the poem sometimes.
To manage feelings in reality, I feel like all I know to do is bombard it with poems. Whereas the long poem you might be just writing daily all the time just has to do with like existence and just thinking in lines, which I do.
Yeah.
So I had a really funny experience last summer, which is Versace approached me and they asked me if I would write them a poem and give them a selfie. And they knew my work somehow and they liked my presence on Instagram. So what I was doing, I typed up the whole notebook and then printed it out. And then I was sitting there and I was sick. I was on Cape Cod. I had a cold. So I was in my pajamas with this long poem, just making circles around what I thought Versace would like.
I love that. And you mentioned writing on legal pads sometimes. Do you reserve like when you're writing one of your novels, do you tend towards a legal pad?
I mean, legal pads I use, they're really a problem in terms of my archive. The legal pad is ongoing, it's filled. So it's sort of like if I'm on a panel and I'm having to think of what to say, I drum it up on the legal pad. If I'm teaching a workshop, I use the legal pad to make notes, to prepare. My taxes are in the legal pad. It's like 7 or 8 things. I don't know, it's like it's really my working space.
In my life as a medievalist, I'm always interested to go through old codices, old books and manuscripts, and then it'll be the affairs of a monastery, the financial records of a monastery, and then maybe some kind of like medical information, and then all of a sudden a poem.
Right.
So these 2 books, Inferno and Chelsea Girls, both draw on autobiography, but both are labeled as novels. I wanted to ask you about that decision.
Well, I just think that it's about a way of handling language. I've read plenty of nonfiction, but I feel like I'm much more moved by the history of the novel.
Mm.
And I think that the novel is so much about arrangement. And I guess I do feel like if you use the materials of your own life in a work, to me, that still doesn't necessarily add up to nonfiction or memoir. I mean, I think you have the choice to make a novel out of anything you want, including your own name. It's just an avant-garde gesture. It's just like, it's a novel because I say it's a novel. It's like,
Yeah.
it's the way it's that simple.
I do like that Inferno is labeled as a poet's novel too, in that it's drawing everything from the title to the format is drawing on another poem, like the Divine Comedy.
Yeah, I mean, nobody questioned whether the Divine Comedy was a poem.
No.
So it's just like, it's very funny that part. Also, it's interesting what forms people have argue about. I mean, Claudia Rankine called Citizen a poem.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it's just kind of funny that nobody thought, it's such nonfiction, but it's like she wanted to call it a poem. I don't know what that meant, but that's what she needed to do.
Yeah.
So it just seemed like it's sort of like, I think it is kind of as freewheeling as gender, say.
Yeah. Were there novels that were in your mind or as inspiration while writing Inferno and Chelsea Girls?
Well, I think with Chelsea Girls, I was learning to write prose, period. And so there were books like, there's a great book, which I think it might be I don't know if it's a memoir or I don't think it's a novel called La Bâtarde by Violette Leduc. And it's very in between poetry and prose. And that's what I was really interested in. As a poet, how to grow into prose. And she was one of the writers that did that. And also, my history, Henry Miller was really big for me when I was young. And his form is very, like, what is that? He calls those novels Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn. Those are not memoirs.
Yeah.
I was definitely drawing for that. But by the time I was doing Inferno, I think there was a couple of things. One was that I was really interested in novels that were like historical novels that had lots of history and stuff. I don't know. That just felt like something that I wanted to feed on at that time. But also, interestingly, there was a book that, again, not totally nonfiction, but about history, the island at the center of the world, about New York as a Dutch colony. You
Mm,
know, there was very little of it that was written in New York, but it was largely about New York. And so having those further rings of history around New York was really exciting to me. I wanted it to be a historical novel in a way.
yeah. Is that something that comes up for you when you're in Marfa too, thinking about the kind of geographical palimpsest or like the history of former inhabitants?
There's a writer whose work I've really fallen for since I've been here, who's Carmen Belosa. She
Okay.
wrote a book called Texas: The Great Theft, and it's a great border novel that, it's like 19th century, and it's like the white people are there and the indigenous people are there and the Mexicans are there, and it's really great. It's really amazingly poetic novel. And or another writer that I love is Fernando Flores, a young
Mm,
Texan who lives in South Texas, born in Mexico, and he works with the region. But those are just people that, having lived here, I've become more interested in work written here. And also, all of Latin America has become really exciting and interesting to me. But what that's doing in my work, I don't know.
Emerging from the brush, I'm paralyzed and waiting for your touch. Avelina, won't you shift my shape to yours?
Can you think of a time when exercise has brought you to a transcendent or euphoric place?
I mean, like I had a friend. I always think of this guy. His name was James. And the first time I went to Rome, he was there and he was somebody I knew, a little bit, not well, but he was running in Rome with headphones on, listening to opera. And not too long after, in the next few years, we became better friends. And he died of AIDS. And then it's just like, and a lot of people were dying of AIDS at that time, the 80s, which is when I began running. And so I would go down to East River Park and listen to Aida,
Yeah, wow.
and run by the river. And it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful and so perfectly pitched for what I was feeling, because it just
Mm,
felt like this whole city of New York was mourning.
yeah. Similarly, can you think of a time when exercise has brought you through just an especially difficult period in your life?
Oh, I mean, that's hard to say because it's always done that, like it's always been like, oh, just go to the fucking gym or just go run. It kind of like pulls the darkness into shape, kind of, and dispels it in a way. You breathe it out. So I'm not sure I can really come up with a specific time. But I would, but for sure, when I got sober, running really just became like my religion. It was just like, I think it was really what gave me a way to go forward. And for one thing, too, because I had no money, and it was a big deal when I joined a gym. I had never had enough money to join a gym. If I had money, I was going to spend it on booze.
Yeah.
But the running preceded the gym going. And so if running was just there, it was
Mm,
free and track quite close to my house. I mean, I thought it was so funny at that time. It's like I had to go to the place to run. I don't think I would walk down there, and then
mm.
begin. And it was part or ride my bike down there. But it was, yeah, it was a real kind of change of life practice.
We like to end on a lightning round. So we have some either or questions for you. The first one of these is cardio or strength training?
Cardio.
Peanut butter on a banana or a date?
God, I don't like either really. Peanut butter and cucumber.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Try it on very dark bread. just one slice.
I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
Cottage cheese or Greek yogurt.
I abhor Greek yogurt. I'm really opposed to it.
Is it the sour taste?
It's the sour and the consistency. I just sort of like old school, like really kind of European yogurt, like classic Dannon, like really, but not, like you've not been able to get the Dannon that I like for like decades.
Is there an exercise that transmits hell to you?
Sweaty yoga. That was pretty hellish.
Is there similarly an exercise that to you just feels like heaven?
I guess it's running. Yeah, I think so. I think that's true. But I think yoga's become it.
Do you have a preference between sauna or cold plunge?
Cold plunge. I did a cold plunge in Iceland last January. It was crazy. I was like, my friends there were like, you got to do it. And I was like, yeah, but I might die, And I asked my Icelandic friend, and she goes, you just go in, you just walk in slow. You're in the sauna. It's at the beach and you walk in slow and then you dunk and you get the fuck out.
Yeah.
So that is the cold plunge that I could do. But, you go and you do it 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
And, it was in winter in Iceland. It was amazing. It was an incredible thrill.
Well, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure.
Yeah, this is great.
Join us next time as we talk to actor, writer, producer Felicia Day about how to get exercise in on even the busiest days, how she's relaunching her groundbreaking web series The Guild, and the magic of a good pastry. See you then. Secretly Sporty was created and is produced by Sebastian Langdell and Austin Rackless. It's hosted by me, Sebastian Langdell, edited by Austin Rackless and Andy Rattinger, associate producer Andy Rattinger. Our theme music is composed by Catherine Joy. Cover art by Ben Wiseman, represented by Illustration Division, Inc. The interstitial music is from Javelina by Christopher Dothett. This outro song you're listening to right now is See Everything by Pocket Radio, featuring Spencer Tweedy drum prints. Special thanks to Kit Rackless, Amy Albert, and Liam Billingham. Please note that we are not medical professionals nor personal trainers. Not all exercises are suitable for everyone. Always consult a doctor before starting any new exercise routine or nutritional program. The views expressed in this show are those of the show's creators or the guests, and not those of any other entity or institution.